As you see, she's tapping and going, and when she taps, there's a bit of a jolt. That can compromise back positioning. So today, slightly different. Well, not really different. Something that was... A while back, I started like a reviewing influencers technique series, which is less about an overview of the influencer and their content, and more about the overview of the content creators lifting when looking at resistance movements, and essentially looking at what they're doing good and maybe what could be improved. So hopefully, somewhat of an educational and informative video, but also hopefully somewhat of a tolerable and, I would say funny, but I'm not very funny, but I'm going to pretend I'm funny video. I've mentioned this person before, haven't actually done a video on her yet. Lucy Davis Fit, someone who I have actually recommended people watch in the past. As you can see, she's with two very popular brands, being Gymshark and MyProtein. She also has her own coaching segment, which is what she calls My Coaching School, which we won't be looking at today, but we will likely look at in the future because this is more about her lifting and her technique as an individual. I started this as a bit of a joke that I'd wear a hat in the occasional video, and everyone was like, Harry, you're a bit weird. I'm like, really? Are you surprised? Have you only just acknowledged I'm a bit strange? And then obviously it became a thing that I have to wear a new hat in every video for this year at least. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I feel quite disturbed. They move. I hope they're meant to do that. Oh, I don't know how I feel. This is uncomfortable. My choice of headwear recently is really not complimenting my head size, shape, or anything. I look like I'm wearing a bicycle helmet. First up, obviously it's going to be lower body based because that's the first thing I actually saw. And we're going to talk about a key movement in many programs, although I understand not all programs, which is a barbell back squat. Probably one of my favorite movements for overall leg development or lower body development, provided you can do it well and safely. Gonna be straight. Lucy has bloody stupendous technique. There are obviously a few things to note. If you look at her knee travel, it's not excessive, but she's not trying too hard to keep the knees behind the toe because that's a myth that's been disproven. Knees can well and truly go over the toes. So many factors come into the equation when you're looking at how far your knees should travel. You're looking at bone length, you're looking at all sorts. As long as it's not excessive, but again, that's very much dependent on the individual. Knees are going in the direction her toes are pointing, as you can kind of see from here. So if your toes are pointing out, your knees should be following that line. So if your feet were dead straight, your knees would go dead straight. Personally, I would probably not recommend squatting with dead straight feet. I think there needs to be an angle that encourages external rotation of the hips, especially when you're talking about bringing the body a bit more into it. Head positioning, good. Back positioning, good. Like she's not looking up at the mirror, which I know is really hard to do when there is a mirror in front of you. It's very easy to then focus on what you look like at the time, which then results in a lot of people like squatting like this. Getting that head positioning up, not what we want. Find a point on the floor, maybe even at the bottom of the mirror, and just focus and fixate on that point. Basically, bloody good squat. We like that. Barbell reverse lunge, another stupendous movement. I don't say the mistake, but a lot of people kind of fall into the habit of driving forward with the weight. So they'll take the step, like the step. So, and as they drive into the movement, I guess I initiate the movement, they then shift their weight forward, which then causes a lot of excessive knee travel. What you really want to do is take the step and try and focus on dropping straight down. This is one of the movements I would say that I personally prefer trying to maintain as much of a vertical shin angle as possible. If you experience any knee discomfort when lunging, have a look at your shin angle. So this is a curious one, because she's essentially teaching us how to barbell back squat. Feet shoulder width apart, foot width is very much dependent on the person and very much dependent on the bar positioning. So there's actually two primary bar positionings when back squatting. You've got the high bar, in which the bar is on the traps, and then you've got the low bar, in which the bar is over the rear delts, upper back. For most people, when lifting heavier, you could probably lift more when low bar squatting, but it's also, in many cases, harder to hit depth. That's more towards like powerlifting training, but if you're like a typical gym goer, I'd probably say it's easier to stick to a high bar squat. Initiate the movement by pushing the hips back. Yes, I like that. Some would argue that you can initiate at the hips and the knees at the same time. Depends on what feels comfortable for you. A lot of people do initiate the movement with their knees, which then results in, this is me. I am the fingers. These are my knees here. When you initiate at the knees, it causes this to happen. You collapse forward, and that then drives the knees very far forward. Also means that it's going to place a lot of pressure on the knees. Also means that the knee travel is then likely going to be excessive, and it also means that you're going to find it really hard to hit depth because your knees won't be able to travel any further. They've gone, like they can't go down. But when you initiate at the hips, you kick back, and then that allows you to almost sink into it, like sit into it like you were sitting in a chair. But due to that controlled knee travel, she can now hit depth far more comfortably. Quickly, I must interrupt you just for hopefully less than a minute. If you did like the video, I would really appreciate it if you did like the video. It does mean a lot to me. It helps me a mass amount. I don't want to produce content that you don't want to see. I want you to watch these videos and feel good, either about yourself, about what's going on in life. I want you to take something from that, be that a bit of information that you weren't previously exposed to, or maybe a new opinion or a slightly different outlook on something, or even maybe you had a laugh and a smile. That's a win in my eyes. If you haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you did take the time to subscribe to the channel, because we're getting very close to 20,000 subscribers, which is like insane, and I've got a surprise when we get there. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for supporting my channel, and thank you so much for being a part of the family. And again, obviously at the end of the video, comment question of the week, we'll crack on with the rest of the video. So breaking the core is an interesting one because a lot of people don't really know what that means. A lot of people kind of lean towards, okay, I've got to brace the core. Does that just mean tense your abs, like tense your abdominal region? To some degree, yes, but not entirely. If you ever see someone squat heavy and they go for a big one on max, they go like that, they elevate their shoulders. In most cases, not ideal. You want to keep the shoulders down because that implies you're breathing into your chest rather than breathing into your stomach. Suck in as much air as you can to the stomach, push that belly out, close your eyes and picture the scene. It's Sunday evening. You're like, oh, I'm celebrating something. You know what, let's go out for dinner. Let's go smash some burgers. So you go out to the burger place and you eat a lot of food. You're like, oh, should I get one burger or should I get 17? And you're just like, you know what, let's just get 23. So you get your 23 burgers and you eat them. And you afterwards, you're like, I feel quite sick. I've got food baby. Oh dear, uncomfortable. And then you show your friends, you say, look at my food baby. And you push your belly out to see how far you can push the baby. Do that. So what I mean by that is suck in as much air as you can to your stomach, push your stomach out, almost like you're pressing against something, and once you've fully extended that stomach, contract everything so you tense the core and lock everything in. So I'm going to shout out my friend Diwaz here, because he is a very intelligent man when it comes to training, as is Chris, the guy he's with, and their coaching group, who I am technically with, a client of, being in Plexium. There are some breathing drills you can do to essentially learn how to brace your core properly, and this is probably one of the best ones that I've seen online. 90-90 breathing is also a great one you could do, again, every day. Go to Plexium, scroll down, and find this breathing video where they talk you through how to learn to effectively brace your core. Watch the video, and if you can't bother to find the video, just drop me a message on Instagram and I'll send it to you. And try to hit parallel or wherever your range allows. Yes, obviously go as low as you can go comfortably, but over time, if you can't necessarily hit depth, I would say it's quite important to, if you are able to work on your mobility to the point where you are then able to hit depth comfortably, and like I said before, hip crease below the top of the knee. Drive through the heels and force the knees out. Force the knees out, yes. Big thing, like this kind of falls into the external rotation side of things. Like if you don't force the knees out, they can lead to excessive collapse of the knees. Granted, a little bit of cave, like a twitch, is very much a driving factor when getting out the hole, so it's not anything to stress about in most cases. Driving through the heels is an interesting one, because this is quite a beginner cue. In an ideal world, you want to drive through your midfoot. People say drive through the heels because it's quite an easy cue to learn. It's like, would you rather drive through the heels or the toes? Well, definitely the heels. The way I always kind of put it is, I've said this before, I think in a video, is creating the triangle. So driving your big toe, little toe, and heel into the floor. So creating that triangle of pressure, and then just focus on evenly distributing that pressure, thus allowing you to then drive through the middle of the foot. But again, if you can't do that, it feels a bit uncomfortable. Driving through the heels is fine. When you get to the top of the movement, don't hyperextend the spine. This is a big one actually. A lot of people, and especially a lot of influencers online who are creating these potentially questionable workout programs, when they get to the top of the squat, they obviously squeeze the bum and then like thrust forward a bit. I don't want to see it. Yeah, contract the glutes, but don't hyperextend your spine by doing so. And no, it's not going to work your glutes anymore. It has the potential to hurt you in the long run. So you're about to see a 45-pound, maybe 6-month-old puppy. Might be a bit younger than 6 months, but he's 45 pounds in weight. So he's about 20 kilos. Can we acknowledge the evolution of this dog? How big he was when I first featured him in videos to how big he is now. Like, look at the size of him. Oh, I'm just the bridge. It's all I am to him is a bridge. Honestly, I love that dog more than life. I absolutely adore him. Deadlifts. So obviously I'm a fan of deadlifts. I don't think everyone needs to do them, but I think they are a great movement for overall development of strength. I would prefer to have them on like a lower body day, like a posterior chain day, because biomechanically they are more of a lower body movement than a back movement, but there is a carryover to both. But for this, I would always lean towards, as you see, she's tapping and going, and when she taps, there's a bit of a jolt, and that can, I'm not saying it is, I'm saying that can compromise back positioning. What I would always say is when deadlifting, dead stop. So this is the Sumo Deadlift. The knees are a lot wider, the toes are more pointed out. You want it to be a vertical shin if possible, or as close to as possible. And essentially you want to be in the most upright position you can be. So as you can see, her back position is like really good here, like really good. Sumo deadlifts are definitely more testing on your mobility. Ultimately, in most cases, the more vertical or upright your torso is, the greater the likelihood of you lifting more weight. For a lot of people, lean towards the deadlift stance that you can maintain the most upright torso. So we have a bit of upper body stuff here, which is great. Love to see some upper body work. Lat pull down, a great vertical pulling motion, especially if you aren't necessarily comfortable or able to do pull-ups, because they are very hard movements for many. A lat pull down is a great alternative because, like I said, it's a vertical pull. I'll give you a little secret tip that not many people talk about. Is when doing like a lat pull down, if you were to do like a single arm lat pull down, a commonly neglected and overlooked adjustment to range of motion is lateral flexion of the spine. As you pull down, a lot of people go like this, up, down, up, down. Don't be opposed to going down and then ever so slightly lean into it a bit. So rather than this, you go down as you get to the contraction, slightly. Alberto Nunez did a video on this years ago and he spoke about how it's overlooked when building a good back. But that's it. That is our assessment of Lucy's technique for quite a few movements. Really impressed. I've said this from ages ago. Lucy is one of the people I would often recommend people watch when looking at building muscle or getting into resistance training. She prioritizes the movements that need to be prioritized and she lifts well. Again, I haven't seen everything, so therefore my opinion is subject to change. But no, I like Lucy. It's good stuff, impressive stuff, and I'm glad that there are people like her pushing out content like this. But now it's time for comment question of the week. And this is a comment question that I kind of answered in the comment section, but I didn't really go into detail because I wanted to maybe go in a bit more detail here. Can you really grow a butt? I mean from flat to bubble butt, or is it genes? I'm confused. Please explain even briefly. Absolutely, you can grow muscles. Muscles are there with the potential to grow. Yes, you can grow a butt. One of the best ways to do that is to lift heavy, lift frequently, enough volume, push your body, but make sure you're eating enough. Granted, genetics do play a huge part in this. Bubble butt and stuff very much depend on genetics and your genetic allowances, how high your ceiling is, and your genetic like muscle belly, like how the muscle looks, like the shape of it essentially. But you should get a good idea of what your genetics will allow within a relatively short period of training. And if they are a harder area for you to gain muscle in, it might be worth prioritizing them more if that is a goal of yours or a priority of yours. But that's it. That's a video. 300 likes on the video really means a lot because, like I said, I don't want to create content that you don't want to see. So if you could take a minute to maybe subscribe to the channel and perhaps click the bell next to it so you get notified when I upload every week, I would really appreciate that. Again, comment question of the week. Drop a question down below in the comment section and I shall answer it at the end of the next video. Whether you agree or disagree with what I had to say, it's merely my opinion, but nonetheless, I appreciate you for investing your time into me and into the channel. Thank you for tolerating the video.